You were born to be hockey players. Every one of you. And you were meant to be here tonight. This is your time. Their time is done. It's over. I'm sick and tired of hearing about what a great hockey team the Soviets have. Screw them. This is your time. Now go out there and take it.
Whoa, Black Betty, bam-a-lam. Whoa, Black Betty, bam-a-lam. Black Betty had a child, bam-a-lam. The damn thing gone wild. Bam-a-lam, she said a word not of mine. Bam-a-lam, the damn thing gone blind. Bam-a-lam, I said, oh, Black Betty, bam-a-lam. Whoa, Black Betty, bam-a-lam.
Good evening, viewers, and welcome to Science Uncensored. My name is Austin Fiala, and I'm here to tell you that we are breaking from our original program this evening to go with a brand new segment where we will answer your viewers' questions so long as you send them in to us. So for our first question tonight, we will go to a question from Will Cindy in Oklahoma. She writes, Dear Austin, what is the scientific method? I am nervous about starting my new science project, and I need to know whether or not I'm going to do my science project correctly. Please write back soon. Cindy. Well, Cindy, the scientific process is just as simple as starting out by asking a question. With that question, you need to do research. And using your research, you must hypothesize. With your hypothesis in place, you can then perform your experiment. And then after you analyze the results of your experiment, you can write a report on whether your hypothesis was true or whether it was not. But then again, what am I saying? There is no right or wrong in science. Your hypothesis may seem wrong to you, but it really isn't. You see, we don't have to see it to believe it. We don't have to see it to understand it. But we do have to understand it to be able to see it. There is no right or wrong in science, little Cindy, because no one can determine whether it's right or wrong. If your science teacher says you are right or wrong, have them come talk to me. And now our next letter this evening is from little Johnny in Tennessee. He writes, Dear Austin, is there a certain level of basic knowledge we need before we can make a decision? Please write back soon. I need it for my science class. Love, Johnny. Well, Johnny, I could tell you that nobody can make an educated answer on anything unless they have a basic level of understanding of the topic they are discussing. Such as if you asked me who is going to win the NASCAR race tomorrow, I would not be able to tell you, or even make an educated guess, because I have no clue whatsoever about NASCAR. Think about some other examples in your daily life. If I were to ask you, Johnny, who were to win the curling match in Canada, only a few of you would know. But I know for certain that you, little Johnny, would not. See, I can talk about that and discuss it because I thoroughly understand it. But you, little Johnny, you would just make a fool of yourself. Now let us turn to our next question. Our next question comes from a little Susie. Little Susie in Oregon writes, Dear Austin, I'm taking science class this year and we are learning about chemistry and physics. I'm wondering, how does chemistry and physics help for an understanding in your daily life? Well, I can tell you, little Susie, that it helps a whole great deal. For instance, if you didn't know chemistry, would you know why a candle burned? Would you know that it's a chemical change that cannot be reversed? Would you know that tearing paper is a physical change that may or may not be able to be reversed, but it still stays in its same form? It's a very simple answer, Miss Susie. Yes, chemistry and physics can help you in your daily life. And not only is the answer I gave you a correct explanation of how it can, but there are many other explanations in this world that I can't even begin to name that will prove it even more so to you. Stick with science, and you will learn so much more than you ever knew you could. Now we turn to one of our last letters. It's from little Andrew Cooper, in Tullahoma, Tennessee. He writes, "Dear Austin, how can graphs and charts convey and misrepresent information? I'm very curious. Love, Andrew." Well, you see, Andrew, let's say you have a chart up here. It's a pie chart, for instance. It says 70% of Americans like pie. 30% don't. Well, Andrew, is that chart really accurate? Because I don't know if you just chose a random 10 people or 100 people to come and do your experiment. And the average person would not know that either. That is why you have to have the information at the bottom that says how many people you used for this poll. And even if you got a correct and accurate analysis of every single person in the United States, it is impossible to ever write down your results. Because there are millions and millions and millions of babies in the world born every day. And we cannot even begin to comprehend what those babies, if they would like pie or if they wouldn't. So in reality, Andrew, since we can never live in the future and never know what the future will behold, it is impossible to make an accurate chart. For instance, I'll use not a chart, but a scale, for instance. Whenever you see a model of the solar system, you may see that Jupiter is about the size of my fist, while Earth is about the size of my fingernail. And they will all be extremely cramped together in your science book page. When in reality, if you were to use an actual scale, let's say 1 to 50,000 scale, then you would learn that Earth would be about the size of 1 centimeter across, while Jupiter would be probably about the size of 3 inches in radius. But in reality, these would be almost 500 feet away from each other. Now again, that is just an accurate guess. I don't know my numbers off the top of my head. But if I did know the top numbers off the top of my head, I would realize that if we were to make a to-scale model of the entire solar system on a 1 to 50,000 scale, where Earth was the size of a speck that we cannot even barely see, then this solar system model would probably take up the entire campus of the Webb School in Bell Buckle, Tennessee. So Andrew, that's the answer to your question. I hope that helped. Now for one of our final questions of the evening. It's quite a bit lengthy, but I'll try and keep with me here. The question comes from little Bryson Hajopoulos in New York. He writes, "Dear Austin, what are your thoughts of how we are here and why? Do you think that we should explore outside of Earth to learn more? And do you think that we have a responsibility to take care of Earth? Or is it just self-preservation?" Bryson. Well, Bryson, I can tell you for starters, I do believe that we should explore outside of Earth, because there might be some things that we are neglecting to know. But in reality, Bryson, I do believe in something along the lines of the Big Bang Theory, which states that millions and billions and billions of years ago, everything in the solar system, everything in the universe, everything in the entire galaxy was just the size of my fist. And then one day, it all just burst, and it's been expanding ever since. Because we realize that our solar system is expanding from everything else in the entire galaxy or universe. And it's all expanding from one central point. Now we have never traveled to this point, so we can't know the exact coordinates. But I do believe, for those exact scientific evidence reasons, that we did evolve from the Big Bang Theory. I don't understand how us as humans have come to be what we are today, but I do believe in the Big Bang Theory. Now on to your other question about should we, if I may refer to your note, Do we have a responsibility to take care of the Earth, or is it just self-preservation? Well, you see, Bryson, I do believe that we have a responsibility to take care of our Earth. It's not just self-preservation. Because if it were self-preservation, then believe me, and I do believe in this, the Earth would have ceased to exist. Humanity would have ceased to exist long ago. Since we do have people that are taking care of our Earth, though, we do realize that we don't have garbage on the streets or anything else like that. I do believe that it is not just self-preservation. I do believe that we do have a responsibility to take care of the Earth, just to a certain extent. For instance, I don't believe that we should go around screaming at people to start using electric cars more often. Because, really, if we just have some people that are using electric cars, that's already better already. So Bryson, I hope that answers your question. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that is all the questions that I have here tonight. Please be sure to join me next week when we learn more about the solar system, the environment, and environmental physics. And now, as you go on before this week, I ask you to please keep in mind our sponsor, Ovaltine Milk and Trix Yogurt. Thank you.